Yep, your eyes do not deceive you. I'm finally doing it. I'm finally doing what I promised to do approximately 5 months ago. Not as long as I thought it was, but hey, still quite a while. As you probably know, Dead by Daylight month did not go as planned. And because I was so burnt out on the game, I decided to just cancel this video initially. Well, now I've gotten the motivation I need. Only problem is several killers have either gotten reworks, new killers have been added ever since that video, and my opinions have changed. So, yeah. In case you're wondering why I didn't just bring up the old video, well, first of all, I lost all the footage for it. But the second reason was that. Any rules? No, not this time. It just has to be in the killer section, and that's it. I have played every single one of these killers, so I know exactly how they play. Any criteria? Yes. This is going to be a very personal ranking, meaning I'm not going off of any objectivity here. I'm going to be ranking them based on their design, their lore, their power, or their abilities or strength, and finally, and most importantly, how fun they are. They could be the strongest killer on the face of the earth, but if they're boring, I am not playing as them. I'm sorry. Also, I know I just said this, but it begs repeating. This is my list. These are my rankings. So, if your favorite killer is ranked near the bottom of the list, or your least favorite killer is ranked somewhere near the top, well, I'm just going to say it right now. That's just how I feel. Please let me know what you feel in the comments below. I'd love to hear your opinions. We've got 38 killers to go through. I'm starting to think this was a mistake. But hey, too late to back out now. Let's start this countdown with number 38 out of 38. Oh boy. Ranking at the very bottom of this very subjective list, we have the Skull Merchant. Oh, this just makes me sad, but let me explain. The Skull Merchant, in all sense of the word, was a failure on launch. Her design does not appeal to anyone, mainly because they're trying too hard to make her very feminine and sexy, but at the same time, they're also trying to make her look threatening and dangerous. And yeah, that just does not work. Another big problem was the fact that her lore made negative sense. How do you. How on earth do you become super successful after reading microeconomics? I do not understand. I mean, I took an entire class of microeconomics. How come I'm not rich? But it gets worse. Because her power was very, very oppressive. She used to be able to hold a 3 gen for a very long time. So long, in fact, that it took the best survivor team an entire hour to defeat her. Yeah, you already know the story. But the Skull Merchant does have one interesting thing up her sleeve. One thing that makes me feel like she was decent for a bit. That was after her rework, she was actually not very oppressive. You actually had to think. And her power was okay. It wasn't amazing, it was just okay. And then the nerf came. The biggest nerf any killer has ever received. Now that Skull Merchant is definitively the weakest killer in Dead by Daylight, to the point where no one plays as her anymore. She is now the rarest killer in the game. And I kind of think that was for good reason. I kind of feel bad for Skull Merchant, honestly. She never had a chance to shine. And in my original video, she was ranked pretty low, but she wasn't the bottom character. And that's because she was fun to play as. But not anymore. Now she's utterly atrocious to play as. Also, it should be noted that the community is still calling for nerfs despite the fact she is still the weakest killer. I guess that just shows you how much people hate Skull Merchant. So, due to her weak power, her terrible design, and lore that honestly makes Pyramid Head's lore look good, we have Skull Merchant at the very bottom of the list. No questions asked. I think a lot of people are going to disagree with a lot of opinions coming up, but this is probably one that's going to resonate with the most people. Which should say something considering the fact that this is probably not where a lot of people would put her. That just shows you how controversial the rest of my list is going to be. So let's just move on now to number 37. At number 37, we have the Trickster. Probably the most controversial killer in the entire game. He does have his fans, and I won't deny them the fact that he does look pretty cool. But he also has his haters, and I can see both sides perfectly. On one hand, like I said, his design is pretty cool. It lines into a type of horror called bubblegum horror, where basically a bunch of pretty and very complex themes are interwoven with horror. And that's just pretty cool. I also love the knife's design. Yeah, the knives design are just so cool. Finally, I love his bat. Look, I'm easy to please. However, I also get his haters, because dang it, is this guy boring to play as. He's also very boring to go against. So, no one wins when you go against a trickster. When a trickster's in your match, no one wins. It is terrible. His knives are basically just faster version of the Huntress's hatchets, except they don't immediately down survivors, you have to hit them a certain amount of times. Well, first problem with this, I'm terrible at aiming. So that's automatically going to give range killers a disadvantage. I'm sorry, but this is just how I am. But the second problem is, Trickster feels very clunky. Like, there's nothing to really help you play as the Trickster. Yeah, main event is awesome, but honestly, main event can't save this guy. And honestly, that's one of the only things going for it. The best thing about the Trickster is his excess and just all-around design, but playing as and against him is a chore. If you play as him, you're just throwing knives half the time. If you're playing against him, you lose. Unless you have a tall wall loop, in which case you win. There's no winning in this fight. You just lose. I'm sorry, but I do not like the Trickster. Gameplay wise. Story wise and look wise, yeah, he's good. But gameplay wise, I'm gonna let you in on a little secret. This was my original bottom spot. But now that Skull Merchant has been nerfed into the ground, she has saved him from that spot. Consider yourself lucky, Trickster. Alright, this list is going good so far. 2 terrible killers out of the way. And according to my count, there's only one more terrible killer left to go. So, who is it? No, not like this. Legion's one of my favorite design-wise, though. Positivity. Positivity. We're gonna have the most positive number 37 out of 38 of all time. That sounds terrible. Yeah, design-wise, I like the Legion. The fact that they are all teenagers with severe angst is just it's just perfect for 2 reasons. One, it appeals to that crowd, but 2, it's very real. Yeah, there are characters like this in real life who kill with no reason just because they want to or rebel against society. It's sad, but it's also really scary. So the Legion is just a perfect fit for Dead by Daylight. I also really like their designs and cosmetics. No reason, I just think they look cool. Shoutouts to Chimeric Horde and Hunk. But then we come to the power. And dang it, Legion, you are this close to being not near the bottom. But you just don't work anymore. Legion's power is basically to run up to a survivor, slash them, give them deep wound, and then run away. That's it. That's his whole power. They are the epitome of hit and run, and that is a playstyle that a lot of people really hate. So Legion just doesn't work in today's age, simply because Deep Wound is not that scary anymore. When it was first released, yeah, it was terrifying. You get downed even if the killer was nowhere near you. But now, it's just annoying. Like, I have to stop whatever I'm doing just to make sure I don't get downed. It's annoying. Also, can I just bring up the fact that the Legion is probably one of the easiest killers to counter? If you literally never heal throughout the entire match and only mend, Legion just can't do anything unless he gets that perfect 5-hit run. Yeah. Legion is just one of the worst killers to play as. Which sucks, obviously, because they have the best design. Or rather, second best. We'll get to that later. But yeah, they are the worst. In the main game mode. Because in the recent 2 versus 8 game mode, they're actually really good. Remember when I said that you can't heal no matter what against a Legion? Well, with every other killer, you have to heal. So, what happens if a Legion is in the same match as another killer? Well, then you've got a problem. Do you heal and potentially get hit by a Legion slash? Or do you not heal and avoid the Legion but get accosted by another killer? It's really tough and really makes you think. And I would say that the Legion is the third best killer in 2 versus 8. Yeah, that's right, I'm giving you a countdown within a countdown. Except this one's out of order. Buckle in, because it's going to get real wild from here on out. With Legion done and dusted, we have officially moved on from all the killers who I consider bad. And I use bad in quotation marks because Legion is not that bad. But now we have a bigger problem. We move from the bad category to the you exist category. A category which I have less to say about than all the other ones. Starting with the pig, Jigsaw's apprentice, Amanda Young, or whatever you want to call her. The pig is a very fun killer when it comes to her reverse bear traps. She only has 5 of them, so you need to ration them out. I'm sorry, 4 of them. You need to ration them out because that's 1 for each survivor. You also need to know that all these trap killers are going to be ranked somewhat sporadically because I like some of them and I don't like others. The pig is one that I'm mixed on. Because when it comes to reverse bear traps, no notes. It's perfect. I do wish there was an iridescent that allowed you to repair one because it allows for more flexibility and creative plays. But honestly, if they never add that, then I'm fine with it. No, my problem comes with where everyone else has a problem. Her ambush sucks. I'll just say it. Yeah, if you use it correctly, you can get some good mind games, but that's about it. Also, shoutouts to her Mori for being probably one of the worst of them all. I mean, she just slashes the neck and that's it. That is gruesome. But when you compare it to what some of the other characters do, it's not even close to being the worst. But yeah. Also, hot take, I think her Mori is slightly worse than the Trappers. Don't get me wrong, the Trappers is terrible, but at least with him, I have no expectations. With the pig, I have huge expectations. Have you not seen the Saw movies? So yeah, her ambush is bad, but her traps are good. Mainly because they activate whenever a generator is repaired. Meaning a usually good part of the match is now turned into something horrifying. I wish more killers did that. Well, there is one more, but we'll get to him later. Man, I love foreshadowing. Oh no. Look here. You who are not familiar with Dead by Daylight may see a particularly attractive looking ghost girl. But for those of you who know Dead by Daylight, you see a big elephant that needs addressing. I'm just gonna go out and say it. I don't like the spirit that much. Now, don't get me wrong. Design wise and, well, lore wise, she is actually one of the best ones. basically being a normal high school Japanese girl who was completely taken over by rage after her father slaughtered her. It is sad, but it's also very fitting. Her power is also one of the most unique. She goes invisible, sort of. She leaves a husk behind, and once she leaves that husk behind and stops moving, you know she's invisible. Or do you? That's the most fun part. You can just stop moving, and the survivors legitimately don't know if you actually are phasing or not, unless they're paying really close attention. But dang it. I don't know what it is about Spirit, but even though design wise she's one of the best, gameplay wise she's kind of dull, to be honest. She's one of the strongest killers in the game, but honestly, I just don't get why people really like playing as this character. I don't get why people hate her either. And this is not me coming from a smug sense of superiority. No, I actually want to know why people like this character so that I can like her too. I actually want to know why people dislike her so I can know why I dislike her. But I honestly don't know. There's just something about her that doesn't click with me. Maybe it's the fact that her phasing is still audible. Maybe it's the fact that you can't see the survivors, giving you a lack of information. Maybe it's the fact that, in all honesty, other killers do this job better. Or maybe it's the fact that I just don't really like this character. I don't know what it is. I actually don't know. So, I'm ranking her low, but please let me know in the comments below why the spirit is either really good or really bad. Please, I actually want to know. In all honesty, I made this list so my close affiliates would hate me. If there was one killer who was such a head-destroyingly wasted opportunity, well, it would be Freddy Krueger. But if there was another one, it was the artist. I mean, we have an art killer. An art killer who can summon crows in the entity's realm. Crows, that mind you, are the entity's favorite animal. Do you understand how much of an opportunity that is right there? And her design is perfect. It's beautiful, it's tragic, it's gross, but it's also something you can't stop looking at. It's perfect. And her lore, too. Someone who just wanted her people to be free and happy, only to get oppressed and destroyed and turned into the very thing she wanted to get rid of. But dang it, her power is so dull. All it is just summoning birds to fly around someone. That's it. That's her whole power. And look, artists can be fun, and I get it. The artist can be fun. And we are thoroughly out of the bad range. And she is a very strong killer. I will not deny that. But personally, I also get why people don't really like her that much. Her power is so one note. Now, granted, you will see that there is a problem with overcomplicating a killer later down the line, but here I'm begging for even a scrap of complexity. This is just one of the weakest killers of all time in terms of potential. Because potentially, she is one of the best. But dang it, I just don't like her that much. Sorry, Minskull, but I just don't see what you see in her. She was one of the biggest wasted opportunities of all time. Or rather, second biggest. We'll get to him later. Man, I love foreshadowing. What? A Dead by Daylight ranking video where the nurse is not number one? How did that happen? Yeah, remember when I said this was a personal list? Yeah, and remember when I said that this was going to be controversial? This is the final nail in the coffin. I put the nurse near the bottom. Put simply, I am really bad at this killer. And also put simply, I don't like that she is the most powerful killer in the game by a wide margin. Because, well, nurse appears and you die. That's it. There is no middle ground. You either get a really bad nurse like me, who doesn't know what they're doing, and will be destroyed anyway, or you get a really powerful nurse and you get destroyed immediately. There is no middle ground. None. So yeah. The worst part about the nurse, I actually have the least amount to say about her. I'm sorry. I just don't have much to say about the nurse. And this is going to be controversial because I know a lot of players love the nurse. So, yeah. The nurse is still one of my killers that I just don't know how to feel. Like, on one hand, she's free, so at least she's not pay to win. But on the other hand, she's free, meaning everyone has access to her. Oh, joy. I just don't know. The nurse is just a character I don't know about. So, therefore, she ranks here. I really wish I could drag this out more, but I can't. Areas, boys. The Trapper. The poster boy for the game. And this is probably the only part of the list that people could actually agree with. Trapper being placed pretty low. Yeah, but I don't personally think that Trapper deserves all the hate he gets. Mainly because he is a good idea. And I see what they were going with this guy. He was one of the first 3 killers in the game, each one representing a different type of horror. Trapper was clearly about the meticulous, the methodical, the calculating killer who will plan out your death far in advance. And yeah, he does that pretty well. And in my very outdated How It Feels Trapper video, I think that one perfectly sums up how I feel about this guy. He is extremely weak, but he can also be very fun. He is garbage. He is below bottom tier. But that just means when he does come out a victory, it's all the more satisfying. Let's be honest. Do you get that excited when you get a 4K as a nurse? Or do you get more excited when you get a 4K as a weak killer? Yeah, that's what I thought. The Trapper is a decent killer who is the worst in the game. Well, second worst, thanks Skull Merchant. But, in all honesty, he's all the better for it. We all need the low tier in our lives, and Trapper is that guy. So, yeah. Also, the Naughty Bear skin is just great. No more to say about that. At number 30, we have the Nemesis. He's big. He's strong. He thwaps. He's got zombies. That's literally it. The Nemesis, when in the context of Dead by Daylight, is a great killer. He's balanced, he's fun, he's strong. You can just feel the heft behind him. He also has some of the best memes attached to him. Nemesis one unhook notification. But in all honesty, when you compare him to his home game, Resident Evil 3, he doesn't even compare. He just doesn't. Where's his rocket launcher? Where's the flamethrower? Where's the mutations? Where's, literally anything that makes Nemesis Nemesis? I have a friend who agrees with me on this one. I've never played Resident Evil, but he has, and he'll admit this guy doesn't feel like Nemesis. And I'll admit it too. I've seen a lot of Resident Evil footage. This guy doesn't feel like Nemesis. This isn't Nemesis. It's kind of sad. It should also be noted that I think he's the worst caroler in 2 versus 8. Sorry, I tripped up there. Mainly because his zombies are even more useless. His thwaps barely do anything. You don't have base kit Marvin's blood, and that's all they changed. He is literally the worst. Trapper technically is also the worst, but at least RPD does wonders for him. Also, it should be noted that the nurse is ranked right there at number 6 on that list, too. Yeah, I kind of forgot about that other list, but I'm bringing it up now. Trapper and Nemesis are at the bottom, Nurse is in the middle, and so far, Legion's at the top. So far. But don't worry, that'll change soon. And let's be honest, that's not foreshadowing, you already knew that. With Nemesis out of the way, we are done with the "oh, you exist" characters. Now we are in the good territory. These are all the killers I consider good, but not great. And starting us off, we have the Doctor. The Doctor shocks survivors and makes them go insane. I mean, what more do you want? Doctor is one of the more fun killers to play as. He is weak, just like the Trapper, but he can also win. Because his whole power is to interrupt survivor actions and force them to scream. His static blast is basically one of the most powerful tracking tools of all time. He is also one of the only killers I never run an aura reading perk on. Mainly because he's one of the only killers who doesn't need it. His static attacks are so strong that he just doesn't need it. The Doctor is fun. His design is terrifying, and his lore is so dark and twisted that they actually had to go back and change it because it was too much. So, why is he low? Well, like I said, he's pretty weak, so if you want to actually win, you're gonna have to try really hard. But another reason I hate this guy, he is annoying. I mean, I like this guy, but I also hate him. If I'm playing as him, I have a good time. If I'm playing against him, well, clear my schedule out for the next 3 weeks because those generators are not getting repaired. And you want to know the worst part about the Doctor? There are some Doctor players that will just run gen regression / slowdown perks and just spam static blast and not even chase you. That is so. That is literally the worst. And I don't know why anybody would do that. Actually, I do, because survivors can be very, very scary. But come on. This is just annoying. Do you have to take it out on everyone? Oh well. Let's move on. Up next, we have the Cenobite. Pinhead? Who are you calling Pinhead? This is the Cenobite, dang it. It's his official name. Or the Hell Priest. Definitely not Pinhead. Okay, now that we got the obvious joke out of the way, let's talk about this guy. This guy is very complicated. He needs you to solve the box. If you solve the box, he will teleport to the box and will trap you there, basically guaranteeing some hits. His chains can also be summoned manually, and if nobody solves the box, then a chain hunt will begin until somebody finds the box. Please, adults, if you're watching this, whenever you do, do not take a shot every time I say the box. You will be drunk. That's all I'll say. Why is he ranked low then? Well, low-ish. Well, I just feel like you need a rhombodecalohedron brain. While mine is just brain shaped. You know, a square. So yeah, I am not very good with Pinhead. But at least I can understand why he's great. You see, that wasn't so bad. I didn't even have to call him Pinhead once. Gosh darn it! Come on, not again. I love Ghostface, though. Yeah, Ghostface has went down in my rankings. I played Ghostface back on the mobile game, rest in peace, by the way, and he was my main. Simply because he was just so fun. Simple, dumb fun. And out of all the killers in Dead by Daylight, he feels the most stealthy and the most killer-like, sneaking up on survivors and exploiting their weaknesses. Yep, that's my main Ghostface. The only thing that holds him back is that he is so weak. It's not even funny. In today's day and age, he's just like the Legion, weak and very hard to get kills with. However, unlike the Legion, I think he's actually really fun. And I really like when the ghost face is just very animated, has a fun personality. The ghost face is literally one of the funniest killers in the game because it's one of the only ones who can teabag. And as we know, it's Ghostface in a video game. He's going to have some top tier cosmetics. It's true in Mortal Kombat, and it's true in Dead by Daylight. And yes, I know this is not the Ghostface from the movies, but come on. It's a Ghostface. He's going to have top tier cosmetics. That's just a fact. In fact, one of his cosmetics from Dead by Daylight actually came into Mortal Kombat, which I forgot to mention. But it pains me to put him this low, but I just don't play as him anymore. It's sad. Let's just move on before I make myself cry. Up next we have Michael Myers. No reason why he's higher, just I think he's a little more fun than Ghostface. There's nothing much to say here. He's basically Ghostface, but he did it first, both in real life and in Dead by Daylight. Michael Myers has been infamous for being one of the weakest and most outdated killers in Dead by Daylight. And unfortunately, even after the buffs, which were great by the way, he sadly is still not the best killer in the game. But he's slightly better than Ghostface simply because of those buffs, and because his add-ons are legitimately some of the most creative add-ons of all time. One of them literally just lets you Moria Survivor no matter what. Actually, I lied. Two of them do that. And yeah, I play Tombstone Myers. Yeah, I'm part of the problem. But I do love that Michael Myers is in this game. And I respect the fact that he's in this game because he's the whole reason why we're playing Dead by Daylight to this day. Because they got a super cool license so early on. And not just a super cool license, one of the first slasher licenses ever. Okay, that's not true. There have been more before Myers, but he was the first one to make it cool. Just like how Dead by Daylight is basically just a cooler version of Evolve, and it's the whole thing that made this genre good. However, there is one big glaring issue with Michael. He's still weak. And it's because of that, Michael is just kind of okay. So he'll rank here, but make no mistake, he is thoroughly in the good section. Alright, on to the next one. Next up, we have the Onryo, aka Sadako. It is very nice that we got some J-horror representation here, and they made her very accurate to the movies with her whole 7 days, 7 stacks mechanic. Only thing we're missing is a phone. But there is one problem. No one even knows what she does anymore because she's been reworked so much. She was everywhere when she was first added, and then she got reworked, and then she started showing up less, and then she was reworked again, showed up even less, reworked again, and showed up even less. Seriously, this character has so many reworks it makes Freddy Krueger look like a sharp-hand Joe. I'm sorry I couldn't think of anything there. But what does she do now? It's kind of simple. If you teleport, you get a stack of Condemned. 7 stacks means you can instantly kill someone, like Pyramid Head, except not as strong. So yeah, she's pretty good. And she's fun. You're gonna see a theme with these killers. They're fun, but they're not very strong. But as you can see, I rank them higher than some of the strong killers. Because in my opinion, fun always outweighs a tier list. Now it's and now with that being said, let's get back to the tier list. Next up is the Clown. The Clown is very simple and yet very fun. First of all, I may actually be able to hit my shots with this guy because he has splash damage. Well, not damage, but you know what I mean. And he has the ability to slow survivors. Now, he's just like the Doctor, in which case he's annoying, but he's less annoying than the Doctor because he just slows your actions, he doesn't outright stop them. Which could be considered worse, but honestly, I'm fine with this, even when I'm on the receiving end. The Clown is not very strong, but he is just fine. He also has a bottle that can speed himself and survivors up. So that doesn't immediately balance everything out, but hey, they try to. As for his lore and design, well, his design is, hot take, not particularly the best. Not the worst thing I've ever seen, but honestly, you could do way more with a scary clown. But his lore is messed up. Just so messed up. I mean, he just tortures kids and killers and cats and all that stuff just because he feels like it. And unlike other killers, this one is to a cartoonish degree, so it's fine. Still, though, he's a messed up dude. Also, shout out to his Mori to be for being the very first Mori to actually show dismemberment in the entire game. Yeah, you better believe the entire community was thrown for a loop when that happened. So yeah, that's the clown for you. Number 23 out of 38. Is it too late to back out now? No? Yeah? Okay, I'll just keep going. Okay, this is probably the most controversial one since everybody loves the Huntress. At first, I didn't understand why. I mean, she's just a killer who throws hatchets. Why would you be so excited about that? She's not even that amazing design wise. She's big and burly and has a rabbit mask. A few play sessions later, I finally understood. I finally get the appeal. It's that simplicity. It's because she's so simple in a sea of complicated killers that makes her so appealing. Her power is the simplest to explain. You yuck a hatchet. That's literally it. You get more hatchets when you open a locker. There's nothing else to explain. And really, that's what makes Huntress so powerful and yet so incredibly easy to pick up and play. Now, granted, I have come across some Huntresses who play like absolute scumbags. I'm looking at you, camping Huntresses. But honestly, the Huntress is just a very simple and yet easy to pick up and play killer that I can't get mad at her. I finally understand the appeal of this character. Then why is she ranked so low? First of all, she's not ranked that low. But second of all, I just think every other killer on this list is better. That's just how I feel. And again, I can't aim to save my life. Thankfully, the character's aim is so incredibly messed up, I don't need to aim. Insert joke about atrocious hitboxes here. What do you mean I wasn't supposed to read that out loud? Up next, we have the Demogorgon, the only killer to be temporarily removed from the game. Not Skull Merchant removed, like actually removed. Due to licensing problems. We still don't know the full story. But we got him back. Honestly, something I never expected to happen. And I was excited when I first learned this. This killer who I thought would never return and I would never get to play as, suddenly finally returning. It was just, it was so good. And I've heard great stuff about Demogorgon, and now that I finally got to play as him, yeah, he's pretty good. One of the most balanced killers in the game. His power is very simple. You place the portal, you teleport to it, you shred. It's so simple. And yet, it's within that simplicity that is so good. And also, Demogorgon is a good boy. I feel like I need to explain that because there are a lot of people who want me to say that. Okay, now that I met my quota, why is he so low? Same reason as the Huntress, I just think the ones above him are better. But still, I get the appeal. Demogorgon truly is a great killer. Also, I know I haven't been mentioning perks as of this video yet, but I just feel like I need to mention them. They're very simple and yet very good. Jolt and Mindbreaker are just great perks. There's nothing more to say. Yeah. Yeah. They actually did it. The Mad Lads at Behavior finally did it. They made Freddy Krueger actually decent for once. I know it's probably not fair, but we'll call it square. Fair and square. All is fair in love and war, and I love to kill survivors with Freddy Krueger. Basically, Freddy Krueger was one of my least favorite killers when I first got him. Mainly because it's Freddy Krueger and all he could do was put survivors to sleep and maybe slow them down. He was literally one of the worst killers in the game. But now, he's still pretty weak, but is he one of the worst killers in the game? Not anymore. Now he's actually kinda good. Now, for those of you who are saying that he is the best killer in the game now, slow your roll. He's not that good. And I still have my problems how it's not based off of the Robert Englund version. But dang it, they actually made Freddy Krueger good. Let me have this one. Oh, and by the way, Huntress is number 2 on the list of best killers in 2v8. What can I say? Being able to throw instant damage hatchets is, no, it's just good. But please, let me bask in the fact that Freddy is good for once. Just let me have this one. Up next is the Hag. A killer you do not see very often. Be thankful for that. Because the Hag is basically the Trapper on steroids. I mean, she can set up traps all around the map. She can teleport to the traps once you trigger them. She can run really fast if she has the waterlogged shoe add-on. She has basically every tool in the kit that a setup killer needs. She's like the only setup killer that's not terrible, aside from one other one. Man, the foreshadowing in this video is really something, I gotta say. Also, it should be noted that her Mori was the first one to actually show gore in it. So that caught the community by surprise. Next up, we got the rootin' tootin' cowboy himself, a Death Slinger. He's basically like the Huntress, except he reels ya in. There's not much else to say. I just think he's a little better. Though it's a little annoying how you have to reload after every single shot. But still, I love how creative he is. Wild West horror is not something that's explored a lot. Also, the Redeemer's design is just so clean. Am I using that term right? Yeah, I think I am. Also, why was this the killer that took such a long time to get a blighted cosmetic? Like, that seemed so. That just seemed like a shoe-in. I actually have nothing more to say about this killer, so let's move on. From the west back to the east, we have the Oni. The Oni is by far the most imposing looking killer of all time. Like, seriously, if you saw this guy in a dark alleyway, you would be terrified. And though I don't have a lot to say about these mid range killers, I do have something to say about this one. Mainly because at the start of the battle, you basically have no power. However, unlike characters like Michael Myers, where this is a bit of a problem, for the Oni, it's still a bit of a problem, but if you can get the blood that you need to, well, power yourself up by injuring survivors, you actually become one of the most powerful killers in the entire game. With his Demon Dash, He is by far one of the strongest killers. His add-ons suck though. Just gotta say it. This blood-sucking Oni is definitely a... Wait. Blood-sucking Oni? Wait a minute. Alright, Arc system works. Behavior, get in here. Who copied whose homework? The Wraith is up next. And, yep, he's a very, very simple killer. Basically, if I need to compare him to anything, he is the spy from Team Fortress 2, except without the backstab mechanic. Okay, now there's two forms of plagiarism. Great! But hey, the Wraith did it first, and... Okay, this is just weird. But the Wraith is super simple and super fun. Though a lot of Wraith players are extremely aggressive for some reason. Seriously, as soon as they see a sign of weakness, they are coming after you like a pack of hungry wolves. It should also be noted that this guy is probably the fourth best killer in 2 versus 8, whilst Deathslinger is probably the fifth best. I keep forgetting about that list. I am sorry. I'm sorry I keep getting distracted. This is just how I am. Up next, we have one of the more recent Dead by Daylight killers, Dracula, aka the Dark Lord, from Castlevania. I swear, I never thought this would happen, but here it is, Castlevania in Dead by Daylight. I keep joking that this is the only similarity between it and Smash Brothers, but, I mean, come on. It's right there. But in all seriousness, Dracula is a pretty fun killer. And while I don't know much about the Castlevania license, the fact that there's finally a vampire killer, no, I don't count the Oni as a vampire. It's just, we had zombies. We have the slashers. We have the monsters. Where was the vampire? And, well, here it is. Now we just need a werewolf and we'll all be good. But then again, Dracula can turn into a wolf, so maybe we've already got it. Who knows? What I do know is the fact that Dracula is pretty powerful, but he's also pretty fun. His wolf form is great. He has a good fire attack, but I'm gonna keep it a $150 with you. You're mostly just gonna be using the vampire form and the bat form. That's all there is to it. Also, his true form cosmetic was in a rift of all things. And now I bet it's going to be sold at an exorbitantly high price, because that's just how things are. But hey, if you were lucky enough to get it, then kudos to you. Anyway, on to our next killer. Also, it should be noted that Dracula has one of the best chase themes, and I will not hear it otherwise. We're finally at the top 15, and I just realized I could have just made this a top 10 killers list and been happy. But I wanted to talk about all of them, so I'm sorry. But hey, if you made it this far, then thank you. Just thank you. This has been a lot of effort for me so far, and I can't wait to edit this long video. But anyway, next up is the Dredge. The Dredge is a very interesting killer. I remember way back in the video when I said that I wanted to see killers that turn good things into bad things. Yeah, this was the other one I was talking about. basically turning lockers from hiding spots into teleportation locations. I just really wish there were more killers that did that. However, the Dredge is pretty good. Really good, actually. But he's probably the least stealthiest stealth killer. Wait, he got buffed? Okay, then never mind. He's actually a good stealth killer. I love the Dredge. In fact, he is a very interesting killer, lore wise and cosmetic wise, because come on, you can go wild with it. So, wait. You decide to go wild with the Eldritch Abomination thingamajig, but when it comes to. Oh, but when it comes to something like the Legion, we have to play it safe. Okay, I see how it is, behavior. I see how it is. Next up, we have the Leatherface. A very simple and yet fun killer. You rev a chainsaw, you stick it into people, you break their backs, you slice them up. It's just pure fun. Leatherface is an icon of horror, and I am fully aware that he has his own game, but I'm gonna be real with you. He was awesome in Dead by Daylight. It wasn't always this way, and there is another killer who is better than him, and we all know who that is. But still, the fact that Leatherface is here and got buffs is just so nice. I really wish I had more to say about Leatherface, but what can I say? He's a simple guy. At number, I don't even know at this point. I'll need to double check. But right here at this spot, we have probably the most underrated killer in the entire game. Like, nobody plays as this killer, and unlike others, I actually don't know why. That is the Plague. Everybody agrees that she's really strong, but nobody wants to be the one to play as her. I mean, I kind of get it. It's a little unpredictable, and and her vomit is kind of just a little all over the place, but dang it, she is powerful, and she is really fun to play as. The fact that you can infect objects and get people to cough and spew, that sounds so gross, but it's the truth. While at the same time, after they cleanse themselves, they actually make you more powerful. It's just perfect. I also love how they're not even subtle with this killer. Her power is literally just puking on people. That is simultaneously hilarious but also disgusting. So, I hope no one squeamish is watching this video. That's all I'll say. The Plague truly earns her spot in Dead by Daylight, but for some reason no one wants to play as her. It's kind of sad, to be honest. Next up is Pyramid Head. Bet you weren't expecting Pyramid Head to rank so high. Well, to be honest, I wasn't either. Pyramid Head is just a character who's grown on me over time. With his big and burly design, his giant sword, which is half of a pair of scissors, and his creative attacks. His Torment Status effect, which I feel like should do more, but hey, it's still cool. And the fact that he can just bypass the entire hook system. Hey, it's more efficient that way. And his whole power was the basis for 2 versus 8, although he never made it in himself. That's a little sad, but we can live with that. There is not much more to say in this situation, so let's move on. I was going to cry if another one of my favorite horror licenses was going to rank low. So, Child's Play, I'm so glad you came through. After his devastating nerfs, Chucky has no longer been in the top tiers or in discussion, really, and he has been given the reputation of one of the most toxic killers. We have our own Neil Carlson now, but it doesn't matter. Chucky is still one of the most fun killers in the entire game. I mean, his stealth ability is basically nothing, but when was Chucky ever stealthy outside of the first movie? When was he ever subtle outside of the first movie? He wasn't. Chucky is anything but subtle. I love his voice lines. I love the fact that he's even in this game at all. And I love the fact that he's the only killer that plays in the third person. The only reason why he's lower than what I feel like he should be is because of those nerfs. They hit him really hard. But hey, he's still fun, and I love his scamper. I just wish that those nerfs weren't so devastating. Okay, finally, we're at the top 10. No, I am not having the best time. So let's just get this over with. Starting with The Blight. Look, I don't have anything against strong killers. In fact, that's why The Blight is so far up here. No, I have a thing against strong killers who are boring, and the Blight is just so chaotic that it can't help but being fun. I love everything about the Blight. I thought for sure that this guy was going to be some sort of monster or some sort of Jekyll and Hyde thing, but no, he's a fast boy, and they make sure it. The only thing I can't get behind is the fact that he has so many glitches and problems associated with him. But yeah, the Blight really has not changed much since my original video. I originally had him up pretty high as well, and while he's bumped down one spot, I honestly think he is just a great killer. Also, he has some of the best cosmetics as well, and no, I will not be taking criticism on that statement. Actually, I will, because I don't want to be a jerk. But the Blight is definitely a killer that I really like, but I am nowhere near good at him. So take that as you will. But here comes a ranking that I never thought would happen. This just happened. The Knight ranked pretty high. I was not expecting this. I was going into this list fully expecting the Knight to rank somewhere near the bottom. In fact, my original video had him ranked below Skull Merchant. But after his full rework, yeah, he's actually become a really cool killer, and he finally lives up to his design. I am so glad that the Knight finally got what he deserved, instead of being left to rot like the Skull Merchant. What's funny about these two is that they were released the exact same year and at one chapter apart from each other, and both were hated, but turns out the Knight came out on top. I'm so proud of him. The fact that you can have two people chasing one survivor is just amazing. And I think that's the whole reason I like the Knight. But I also like him now because you can actually choose what guard comes out and what effect you want. And each guard is good in different circumstances. This is what I wanted all along. And it just feels so right. The knight is good. I should also mention, if I haven't before, that the knight is probably my mom's second favorite killer in the entire game. Who is her first favorite? Well, that honor goes to the Xenomorph. My mom's favorite killer in this game, and for good reason. She just looks so good. They nailed the Xenomorph's design. They also nailed its ability to tunnel, terraform, tail thwap, and everything. Only thing I wish is that, well, the acid blood was somehow worked into her moveset, but hey, I'm not gonna pick on it too much. All I'll say is that the Xenomorph was done justice in this game, but I wish a little bit more could have been done. So, Xenomorph fans, I hope you're happy. Because I sure am. The only thing that's really bad about her is the fact that you can't really counter her if the Xenomorph player knows what they're doing. So that's a bit of a problem. Also, Ultimate Weapon got nerfed into the ground, which that is just really sad to me. Finally, finally, the Singularity is good. The Singularity is finally a good killer. Oh, let's talk about it. When the Singularity first released, it felt like you needed to have a rhombodecacohedron brain just in order to get him to play like a normal killer. Well, now you just need to play like a normal killer, but with a hint of more strategy. And you see, we needed a killer like this in the game. While I love playing games and turning my brain off, I also love games that make you think, make you act. And this game really does. Well, at least this guy really does make you do that. And because of that, and because this now rewards you for doing it, I have no choice but to put him right where he belongs. The Singularity has finally been given the respect it deserves, and I just couldn't be happier. Now, if only we could get more cosmetics for this guy, then we'd be all set. We're finally at the newest killer in the game, the Houndmaster. And yeah, she is really fun. I just love playing as this character. They've been knocking it out of the park with these new ones. Although, I will admit one of the negatives right now. Snug is very, very glitchy. There was one time when I was playing as her on Midwich, and she just Snug just broke, like legitimately. He was just caught staring at a wall, and I had to wait until the timer reset in order to use Snug again. It was pretty dreadful. But other than that, the Houndmaster is really fun, and I love the fact that we now have a companion character in the game. We technically already have one, but nobody talks about the twins. Except for me, because I'm about to next entry. Spoiler. But yes, the Houndmaster is just a really fun killer. Really strong. Not much more needs to be said. Behavior, you are spoiling us. Here they are, the monsters of high MMR, the twins. Everybody hates these characters, and I just don't get why. Yeah, their first showing was a little rough, but honestly, the twins are just so much fun. I'm sorry, I'm not apologizing for how much fun I have with these characters. Victor latching on to survivors, the ability to run extremely quickly, and then the fact that the survivor can't do anything but chase you. It's just fun. I also really love the fact that the twins are just this strong and this fun. Basically, Dead by Daylight is all about the chases. And if you can force survivors into a chase, then that's really good. But there is one problem with the twins, and that is the fact that once behavior tried to give them a rework, they failed miserably. The twins need a rework really badly, and they're probably never going to get one because of that failed one. So, the twins will just exist in this state. But honestly, I'm okay with that. I like the twins, and I'll be one to defend them until the very end. Besides, if you read their lore, they've been through enough already. And here's where my ranking becomes basically purely arbitrary. All four of these next few killers are who I consider to be the best: Hillbilly, the Lich, the Unknown, and the Mastermind. They are all awesome, and I just couldn't choose between them. But I'm not about to cop out on you at the last possible second. Who do you think I is? So I had to decide. And because of that, I had to pick someone to be at number 4, and that someone is Hillbilly. Only because it took him a long time to become good again. The Hillbilly has had the rockiest journey out of all the killers, starting off really good, then becoming really bad, and then becoming really good again. The Hillbilly is probably the strongest killer at the top of this list, and it's not even close. Also, it should be noted that the Hillbilly is the second best killer in 2 versus 8, in my opinion, because of his instant downs. Or rather, third strongest, because I forgot Huntress is up there. But yes, basically, or fifth strong. Hillbilly is just great in any game mode he's in, okay? But here's a funny story. I never liked Hillbilly when I first got him. Never. But then when he got reworked, all of a sudden, he just clicked with me. He became my favorite killer. Or one of my favorites. It's because it took him so long to become this good that I ranked him here. But don't take this as him being the worst of the 4. Remember, I love them all equally. So, the Hillbilly is right where he belongs. Finally, near the top of the list. Although it should be noted that he was also one of the original 3, and it's very obvious who he's based off of, like, seriously. But the other 2, Wraith and Trapper, they are ambiguous. Trapper is kind of based off of Jason Voorhees from Friday the 13th, but his moveset doesn't revolve around that. While Wraith isn't really based off anything. Hillbilly, it's very obvious who he's based off of. I mean, look at Hillbilly and look at Cannibal. Corporate wants me to find the difference between these two pictures, but they're the same picture. So, Hillbilly is great, and is just the better Leatherface. Nothing more needs to be said, so let's move on to number 3. Vecna is number 3. I'm not even a big fan of Dungeons and Dragons, and I love this character. In fact, many long-term viewers of mine may remember that my first proper video was all about me gushing about Vecna, mainly because I just loved it, and I needed some way to discuss how good he is. Vecna was very weak in the public test build, but afterwards, oh man, he became so good. I mean, you have the power to fly, you have the power to fire skeletons, you have the power to lift pallets, you have the power to dispel people, you have the power to, well, you have the power. Insert He-Man joke here. But yeah, because I've already went over all of my feelings on Vecna in my original video, I'll keep this one brief. This killer was perfect. And even though he's not that strong, I don't care. He is perfect. And he is the most fun killer to go against as well. There's so much counterplay, and yet there's so much counter to that counterplay that it just feels good, you know? Vecna is the most fun killer on both sides. But he's not at number 1. And that's because there are 2 others that just barely beat him out. Like, just barely. Like space between the tip of your thumb and fingers thin. It's that thin. You can't tell right now, but I'm making that gesture. It is just that thin. The Unknown. Oh man, this killer I could not get out of my head for weeks. For weeks, I tell you. This killer is amazing. From its power down to its marketing. And down to its design as well. This is probably the closest we'll ever get to the Thing in Dead by Daylight. And, oh, it's so good. Its power is another ranged power. But this one has Splash just like the Clown. However, unlike the Clown, this power is actually really strong. I also love the fact that it can teleport. That just adds another layer of strategy and mind games. But the biggest thing that I love about the Unknown has got to be the marketing. Now, I normally don't talk about marketing in these types of videos, but I just had to with the Unknown. The found footage, creepypasta, analog horror style videos that just fueled the fire of what this killer could possibly be. It's just, and we never got that again. Oh man, why have we never gotten this again? Oh, right, because those guys got fired and laid off. Dang it, 2024, why do you have to lay off the best people? But at least we got this banger of a killer out of it. And while it took me 1 or 2 sessions to get used to the Unknown, once it clicked, oh, it clicked. This killer is amazing. And I wouldn't change a single thing about it. But now we come to number 1. And there's only one thing to say. It's Weskin time. Hands down, my favorite killer in Dead by Daylight is Albert Wesker, aka the Mastermind. Like, it's really close, but what won Wesker was the fact that It took me a while to get used to the unknown. I got used to Wesker like immediately. I didn't even need to play a few matches. I just knew how this guy felt, and I just knew I was going to love him. Wesker is everything that I love. He's funny, he's serious, he has a great memento mori, although Ghostface is still the best. He's got amazing animations. His gameplay is simple, and yet it has a high skill ceiling. He's fast paced, he's epic, and he's got the best chase theme. Yeah, I know I just said that Dracula had the best. Well, Wesker's got an entire orchestra backing him up, so that should say something right there. I don't know why Michael April decided to go so hard on Wesker's theme, but oh, it's so good. In fact, if I add music to this video, you'll probably be listening to it right now and seeing what I mean. Basically, Wesker is simple and yet just so fun. I have been the Gamer Nerd, and thank you for watching what is quite possibly my longest video ever. And sorry that this video took so long to come out. I just haven't been motivated to do it. But now I'm ready to do it. So, until next time, take care. And well, I hope your 2v8 has finally finished queuing in. Also, Wesker is number 1 on my 2v8 list, so yeah, there's that.